Welcome to the Responsive Auto Layout Challenge number 3. So in this project, you are going to have to put together many of the skills that you have learned into a comprehensive application that demonstrates that you've been able to master the techniques that we've been learning along the way. That means this time you're creating your own project from scratch without any guidance from me in this video or from any other document. You are allowed to go back and reference any previous documents to get ideas and to figure out how to get started. So instead, what this video is going to focus on is explaining the rubric and demonstrating how the app should work. So first, let's look at the challenge. The challenge says that you will create an app called TLBR, which stands for top, left, bottom, right, and picture from scratch that will do the following. When the app first opens, the user should be presented with a label that reads top, which you can see right here. Next, you can see that you also have buttons centered vertically that read left and right, and a button that is centered horizontally along the bottom of the screen that says bottom. And of course, your profile picture is in the middle, filling all of the available space while still maintaining a proportional, non-cut-off layout. In other words, I can see the whole picture and the picture isn't distorted in any way. Okay, so then what happens when and as you can see, if you accomplish all of these things in the rubric right here, you earn 2 points. 1 point if the label is properly located, and a second point if the three buttons are properly if the buttons and label are properly placed, you earn 1 point. And if the profile picture is correctly placed, you earn 1 point, which moves us on to the next point in the rubric, which is what happens when the iOS device is rotated. So this is point 2 here and 2 here in the rubric. So I'm going to rotate my device right. And as you can see, I've rotated it right, and the label and buttons are positioned correctly. The right button is on the right, the left stays pinned to the left, etc. That is worth 1 point, and the profile picture also adjusts to fit correctly. That's 1 more point. Okay, well, what happens when I click the bottom button? That is the next question. Let's slide that to the top here. So when the bottom button is clicked, the label at the top will change so that your name is displayed. So I'm going to click the bottom button, and that earns me 2 points. Okay, well, what happens next? That would be point 4 here. When the left button is clicked, something interesting new will happen. Click the left button, and the right button changes its name so it says, "Am I right?" And it's a question. Notice that when I did that, the picture jumped over here to the left a little bit. So that's normal. That's what we expect to happen, and that's because the button got bigger and the picture was pinned to stick with a fixed distance to all of these objects. And the only way it could do that is if when this button got bigger, it had to shift to the left. Okay, which brings us to point number 4, which is what happens when I click the right button. Well, that will depend. If the right button already says right, it will just continue to say right. But if it says "Am I right?" and I click it, it will jump back. If I click it and it already says right, it doesn't appear that anything happens. But if I've clicked left, it will jump back to the right. Okay, so this whole project, if you completed all of these items, is worth 10 points altogether. But there are some extra credit options. You can earn 1 point of extra credit if you can make the label change to a different color when each of the 3 buttons is pressed. So if I click left, it should be something other than black. When I click bottom, it should change to be a color that's different than black and whatever color I chose for left. And when I click right, it should be still another color. And you can earn an additional point if you can take that to the next level, which is making it so that if I click the right button repeatedly, this label will change colors so it's a different color every time I click. And if I keep clicking the same button over and over, it's always a different color. Finally, if you've done all of that and you've finished this project and you've already been evaluated, I would like you to try to challenge yourself. So just for fun, see if you can turn this app into a game like the button game of Challenge 2. Now the simple version would just require them to click the buttons in some kind of order to make something happen. But I'd really like you to push yourself. Go out onto the internet, do some research, and see if you can figure out how to make it so it keeps track of which buttons you've pushed. And so it requires you to push, for example, the left button 3 times, then the bottom button once, maybe then the right button 2 times. And when I finally click the right button 2 times, the picture disappears and it shows me some kind of secret message. Please keep it school appropriate, if you would, that I get to only see if I figured out the pattern. That's just for fun. That is not for extra credit. You don't have to do that, but challenge yourself if you can. Good luck.